Hey everybody, welcome to week number 6. Just a few things that I wanted to go over with you regarding the week. I'm going to go to my left here and look at my other screen. The learning outcomes for the week are to determine a research methodology and methods appropriate for the proposal. Methodology and methods are not the same thing, and we'll talk a little bit about that in just a moment. And reflect on the application of research findings to practice. So these are big things that will definitely likely find their way into your proposal in week 7. I really want you to make sure that when you look in the articles and textbooks and resources for the week, there's a number of things that I want you to take a look at that I think are going to be very valuable to you. One is I want you to make sure you take a look at the notes on the document tips for making notes on what you are reading. This is a document that will help you throughout the course of your proposal and your capstone after that. And I was thinking about a quote from page 151 of chapter 8 from the course text, which is one of the required readings for the week, which says, "It's not usually possible to analyze everything, and so you must decide what to select." So this is a skill you will build, and there is a practical way to build that skill in that document, tips for taking notes on what you're reading, which is part of the resources that you have available this week in week 6. Also, make sure you're taking a look at the unit notes. The unit notes do a really nice job of differentiating methodology from method, which is something you're going to have to do this week in DQ1. So as a good lead in, here we go. So DQ1 says, discuss the connections between a researcher's philosophical perspective and theoretical framework with their choices of methodology and method. So here's the best way I can describe it for you, all right? When you look at a proposal, it usually goes theoretical framework, just under that is methodology, and just under that is the method. So let me give you a couple examples, because at the end of the day, the methodology and methods need to be consistent with the theoretical framework. So if I say in my theoretical framework, I like a positivist ontology, meaning that I believe there's one true and right answer to everything. My methodology is probably going to be quantitative because that would align with a positivist ontology. Therefore, my methods might be giving people a survey and asking them to rate things from 1 to 10. Because again, that's quantitative, which was my methodology, and it's aligning with there is a right answer I can determine, which would be a positivist theoretical framework. Let me give you another example. Let's say in my theoretical framework, I am talking about social constructivism and how we all negotiate reality, by our interactions with each other. If I say that in my theoretical framework, it would make sense for me to say I'm going to use a qualitative methodology because I don't think there's one right answer, and I'm more interested in the why than the how many. I could then say, well, for my methods, I'm going to do a critical literature review where I read a number of resources and I pull themes out based on my own experiences, and I use reflexivity to make sure that I'm not, biasing the results. So again, I can't stress enough. You get your theoretical framework, your methodology. You're probably going to either be quantitative or qualitative, and it needs to be consistent with your theoretical framework. And then your methods is really exactly what you're going to do to get your data. So those are the three, and those are also covered quite a bit in the unit notes as well. So DQ1, discuss the connections between a researcher's philosophy, blah, 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 blah. Sorry, I already read that, methodology and methods. One more piece on that. You may want to go back to your week 1, actually, notes that you put in the DQ, because you were talking about ontology and epistemology in week 1 as well. The Word doc that I give you each week, the Word doc for week 1, where I copy all your DQ posts and put them together with some comments, may be a good document to look at and review before you do DQ1. DQ2, discuss how one's professional positionality and researcher intent can influence data collection and the interpretation of results. How does that connect to ethical considerations for not only data collection involving humans, but also how one approaches a critical literature review? So it may not hurt actually to go back to DQ2 last week in week 5, where you also looked at ethical considerations and review your comments there, because very recently you've answered something in the same domain. Also, I want to read this quote from Chapter 8, one of the required readings for the week. It says, "If you detect bias, it does not necessarily mean that the document should be dismissed as worthless. In some cases, the most useful evidence can be derived from biased sources that reveal accurately the true views of an individual or group." So really, once you start digging into your lit review, you can really start providing critical commentary, not on your own biases, you can do that too, but also what you're seeing from the biases of researchers that you're reading. So that's kind of the next level of a critical analysis. I want to remind you that I have left the notes for you in the course news and bulletins, notes on the 2 required readings from the text this week, some things I highlighted. And I'm also going to put a separate video about your proposal assignments that are due in week 7, and I'm going to post that fairly soon. So please take a look at that, because really, I would say you have 2 weeks to work on your proposal that's due in week 7, week 6 and week 7. So I really need you to start those this week, and I'll give you more instructions in a separate video. So enjoy the discussion, folks. Keep in mind, especially that first DQ question, teasing out theoretical framework from methodology to methods is very likely to find its way into your proposal next week. So have a great week 6, and we'll talk soon.